All right, and good afternoon. What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here with the next edition of the Squared Circle Cafe solo podcast. Today is Thursday. It's August 15th, 2019, and I am here to talk about my thoughts on the recent WWE Summerslam pay-per-view that took place on August 11th, 2019. The show was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the Scotiabank Arena. And I did warn that this could go into explicit territory. And it's probably going to. Because, for fuck's sakes, we've had enough of Shane McMahon on our fucking television already. But it doesn't look like that's ending, because he was just on Tuesday on SmackDown. All over the first part of the show. It looks like the storyline with Kevin Owens is continuing. And enough already. For fuck's sakes. We've had enough. I mean, and I swear, and I actually said this on Twitter, at SCC Podcast. I actually wrote this. I swear to God, if I have to look at Shane McMahon on my damn television screen one more fucking time, I'm going to want to throw something through my goddamn window. That's how over it I am. Because it's not helping Kevin Owens. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not. Actually, I'm not sorry to say that. Ugh. Anyway, let's get through this show. We're going to start from the bottom. We're going to work our way up. The pre-show, I'm not even going to talk about the panel. The panel discussions are really of no consequence. So the first match was Drew Gulak defeating Oney Lorcan in a match for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship in, let's see here. I'll see if I can find how much time it took. 8 minutes and 45 seconds, and I'm using the report from ProWrestling.net, so head over there. They got some great content, by the way, and I would strongly encourage you to check them out. But anyway, that's just me. But 8 minutes, 45 seconds, Drew Gulak hits his, let's see, what is he calling this? The Cyclone Crash. And I like this. I thought this was solid. And and I'm gonna agree with Jason Powell, who wrote the report that I'm using as my my outline here. When he says that, hey, at least the commercial was a split screen. We didn't get a stupid restart. I completely agree with that. Anyway, the second match, Apollo Crews, Buddy Murphy beating Apollo Crews by an apparent DQ in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. They did follow up with Murphy accusing Eric Rowan, or just Rowan, of being behind the attacks on Roman Reigns, while Murphy was on the floor. He had done a flip dive onto Crews on the floor, rolled Apollo Crews back into the ring. Rowan showed up and beat the ever-loving tar out of Murphy, causing the apparent disqualification in 4 minutes 20 seconds. He told Murphy to leave his name out of his mouth. And it was a logical way to move that story forward. The third match, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross versus the Iconics, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross actually beat the Iconics to retain in 6 minutes 15 seconds after Bliss hit Twisted Bliss. Can we please get some let's see. Can we please get some focus on these belts? And I'm not, I'm all for having these belts, but the Iconics barely defended them. And meanwhile, we've seen Bliss and Cross defend them, I believe, twice this week. Which, okay, I can get behind that. They're defending them more often. I'm alright with that. But we need some focus on these belts. And for that matter, we need focus on an actual tag team division for the women. But, yeah, I digress on that point. They just need to do something that's worthy of these belts. Because if we're not doing anything, what are we doing? Seriously. If you're not having them be defended on a regular basis, what are you doing? But that's just me. Moving on to the main pay-per-view. And I'm not going to go through the ancillary stuff, but Michael Cole, Corey Graves, Renee Young, your main broadcast team for the Raw side, and of course, Graves was joined by Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton on the SmackDown side. Becky Lynch versus Natalya, submission match for the Raw Women's Championship. Good match. Pretty good match. For the opener, they worked the submission match stip very well, I thought. And especially putting over the fact that there's no rope breaks. But it didn't look like Natalya had the full support of the people of Toronto, which would become more clear on Monday. I'll talk about Monday here in just a few minutes. Trish Stratus interviewed backstage by Caleb Braxton. Basically, this was all about Stratus being the Queen of Queens. Sure. We all know this was probably Stratus's last match. But you know what? You can't really go out on a downer. So, I get it. Video package set up the Goldberg-Dolph Ziggler match. And in that match, Goldberg destroys Dolph Ziggler in 1 minute and 50 seconds. Look, I was a fan of WCW back in the day when Goldberg was first around. This is basically what Goldberg did best. It was Goldberg's greatest hits. But you know what? It gets the taste of the Saudi Arabia match out of people's mouths. And I'm alright with that. Again, I'm using the ProWrestling.net SummerSlam results report as my outline. So I'm just going to read this basically word for word. Because I like how Jason Powell put this. He said, after the match, Goldberg, and this is actually what happened, but I digress. After the match, Goldberg leaves the ring, stops to play to the fans on the stage. Ziggler called him back and said what Goldberg did to him was like being hit by a baby. He said Goldberg didn't have the guts to face him man-to-man. And like me, like the broadcast team, I was wondering what the hell was going through Ziggler's head. Ziggler gets speared again. Goldberg's music plays. He heads backstage. Ziggler laid on his back and said, anyone get lucky twice? He said he knew Goldberg didn't have the balls to face him man-to-man. He said that's why Goldberg is a laughingstock in the business. While he is the best, he will never be defeated or stay down. Yada, yada, yada. Goldberg's music plays. He comes back to the ring, knocks the mic out of Ziggler's hand, picks him up, pats him on the back. T's leaving, ran the ropes, and speared him a third time. Let's face it, Ziggler had it coming. Ziggler absolutely had that coming. The next match was a U.S. title match, and in that match, AJ Styles defeats Ricochet in 13 minutes to retain the U.S. Championship. The end of the match, Ricochet fights off Gallows and Anderson, goes to the ropes. Styles cuts him off. Ricochet battles back, goes for a twisting move off the ropes. Styles catches him, hits Sting, Styles clash, and pins him that way. And yeah, it was predictable because the OC was out there. And I'll say it again, I'm sorry, but the name the OC reminds me of the late 90s, early 2000s Fox TV show. It just does. Ugh. The Club was better than this. But I guess we'll see. We get the Street Profits backstage, basically playing to the crowd. Ric Flair walks into the picture. They flip out. They deliver some of his famous phrases, and Flair gives them some woos. I'm fine with this. Good use of Flair. Maybe help get the Street Profits over. Bayley Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's Championship ends with a Bayley to belly off the ropes for the win in 10 minutes. That was predictable. I mean, Moon had no momentum, and that was it. The next match, Owens versus McMahon, 9 minutes, 20 seconds. Owens kicks Shane in the balls, hits him with the stunner, pins him clean, or pins him. I wouldn't say clean. He took out Elias at one point, which was used as part of the whole $100,000 fine on SmackDown. I'm sorry, but fans just don't get invested. I'm not invested in the fact that Kevin Owens got fined $100,000. It doesn't make any damn sense. But you know, it did. Excuse me. It did keep the crowd happy. With the Canadian Owens going over, and that was fine. So that was good. Next match, Trish Stratus, Charlotte Flair. Flair beats Stratus 16 minutes 40 seconds with the figure 8. Good way for. I actually disagree with Jason Powell on this one. I don't think the finish was bad. It was a good finish. You know, you gotta put Flair over strong if she's getting back in the SmackDown Women's title picture, which I am not excited to see. I'm sorry, it's been done to death, and I'm over it. Um, Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. And, what is with the shitty ass CGI graphics? They had Vipers for Randy Orton's entrance. What the fuck is that? Seriously. It reminds me of the match, and I think it was it was WrestleMania, I believe, and it was Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and they had the bugs and all that stupid ass shit projected onto the ring canvas. What the fuck, WWE? We don't need the ancillary shit. The match ended in a double count out. There's not much to say about it. It was weak. Speaking of Bray Wyatt, The Fiend taking on Finn Balor was the next match. 3 minutes, 25 seconds. It was what it needed to be. Hopefully it continues to be true long term. But after the match, Wyatt stands in the ring, strobe light effect, lights go out, Wyatt's gone when the lights come back on again. Basically, they've been doing that a lot, and I'm alright with that. But, by the way, I've listened to, Wyatt's new entrance music. It's okay. I think it's what it needs to be. Finally, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, the Universal Championship. Way too long for my taste, anyway. 13 minutes, 25 seconds. Seth Rollins defeating Brock Lesnar. Rollins set up for something. Lesnar caught him, yanked him up for the F5. Rollins slips out, kicks Lesnar, hits another stomp, pins him clean. Rollins winning over some of his detractors, and I'm alright with that. I wish this would have been the finish to WrestleMania. I do. I wish they would have finished WrestleMania like that. Because the way they finished WrestleMania, if you remember, was nutshot, stomp, 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 pin, or something like that. And yeah, I just that just would have been better. But that's me. But 3.5 hours for this show overall. I'm all right with it. 3.5 hours. That's not a bad length for a SummerSlam. Meant WWE had to be a little more disciplined, and that's good. That is very good. Getting into some of the fallout. I've already ranted and raved, I think, about Shane McMahon, but enough of him already, for fuck's sakes. Seriously. Most of us fans are over it. Seriously. Bliss and Cross did defend the women's tag titles against the Kabuki Warriors. I thought that was fine on Monday. You need to keep the champs winning, which is good. Just keep doing that. Keep that up. You had Roman Reigns beating Buddy Murphy on SmackDown, what was a really good match. Star-making performance, I thought, for Buddy Murphy. And I wasn't the only one that thought that. He looked really good in defeat. Gulak and Lorcan faced off in a rematch on 205 Live. And Gulak beat Lorcan with the Gulak. And where does Lorcan go from here? I find it hard to believe that he's going to get another shot. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see where that goes. Charlotte Flair did beat Ember Moon on the SmackDown on Tuesday, but I just, again, it's been done to death. Charlotte as women's champion has been done to death. I'm over it. Let's move on. Nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but I certainly don't want to see it. Samoa Joe ended up beating Kevin Owens in a match on SmackDown. Is that where they're going? Is Samoa Joe now going to be a heavy for fucking Shane McMahon? I really hope not. I really, really hope not. Because, again, get Shane McMahon the hell off my television. Seriously, because I'm over it. I'm so far over it. How do I put it? How do I put this? I'm so over it. I'm about as over it as that plane was last week during my predictions. But yeah. We will, I guess we will talk about NXT TakeOver Toronto real quick. I'll just go through the results. Street Profits retaining the NXT Tag Team Championship. I really thought the Undisputed Era was going to win that one. They didn't. 16 minutes, 55 seconds. Yeah. So, are the Street Profits still just appearing occasionally on Raw? Looks like it. Io Shirai over Candice LeRae. I'm good with that. Shirai kept looking strong on that one. Velveteen Dream over Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong for the North American Championship. This is what I thought that needed to be. In 17 minutes, 24 seconds. And then Shayna Baszler defeating Mia Yim by submission for the Women's Championship. Standard Shayna Baszler match. Not that that's a bad thing. She's good. But, yeah. That's what that was. And then the 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Championship. Adam Cole over Johnny Gargano 2-1. Sure enough, the final fall ended up being a sort of cage match, but it was more like Lethal Lockdown, and they had weapons all over the cage. Of all the things you could borrow from TNA, from Impact Wrestling, you borrow that shitty concept, get the fuck out of here. Seriously, of all the things you could borrow from TNA, you borrow that? What the fuck? Seriously. That just didn't make sense. But anyway, that's it for me. You can follow me on Twitter at JeremyMoses85. Follow the show at SCC Podcast. Find us on Facebook. We're on Tumblr. Our website, I think it's squaredcirclecafe.net. Of course, find us wherever you find your podcasts, except Apple Podcasts. I think we're having issues with that. We'll try to fix that in the days ahead if we haven't already. But, you can find us on Spotify. We're on the iHeartRadio app. And then, of course, here on Spreaker. But that's it for me. I'm Jeremy Moses for the show that is by wrestling fans, for wrestling fans. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.